Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus again, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. You know, it's amazing. I've been trying to get this message to you all day. I started out early this morning and I had some complications with my camera, and well, it's been a good day nonetheless. And so I find myself here having this opportunity to express with you some stuff that I really wanted to do. Now, this morning I have a screenshot of a church, the church that I grew up in here in Itta Bena, Mississippi. It's the called Mount Olive AME Church. That's the African Methodist Episcopal Church. And I just wanted to use that as a prop. Excuse me, of where it all started. Wow, y'all excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm working on it. See, you're just that important. I can't turn you loose. Yeah, well, anyway, when I say where it all started, I'm referring to the education, the indoctrination in the front of a church that sets the foundation for accepting all of the other stuff that you hear within society, whether it's in the educational system, whether it's just something that you run into and are faced with out in society. Well, here we have to deal with these things, ladies and gentlemen. And we definitely have to deal with them. And I'm going to have to take this camera and do something with it because it's acting crazy. Come on, camera. You can't do this to the audience, man. They got to depending on you just like I am. Okay? What you say? Can we do that for a minute? All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm still back to this church thing. Thank you for putting up with me. This is what I got to go through. These are some of the challenges that I find myself in as I endeavor to give you this precious message. And in spite of what you might think, it is so precious that I'm standing here anyway, and I'm going to give it to you. You see, the message that I bring to you, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, it is absolute truth. For all of my friends, those I went to high school with, elementary school with, if you're still around, you know me. I've always been a fun guy, but I play the game fair. I was raised by some very, very old people. Some very, very old people, and they didn't play that. And so when I say that, I'm speaking to you about some precious things. I'm telling you what I have been taught. And I'm not basically talking about what all of us generally have been taught. And it is generally what we have been taught, how we judge one another. And this is why our judgment doesn't take us any place, because we're dealing with confusion, we're dealing with corruption, we're dealing with every kind of vile situation that we can find ourselves in. So where else can we go? Well, I tell you where, there's another place we can go. I found myself being introduced to that place through a spirit. And that spirit I have understood now is the true God. And it is not the God that is what you find in the church. It's not the God, the true God. I'll stop. Everybody in the church, I want you to stop for 1 second. Everybody in every kind of church, I want you to stop for 1 second. That God that you serve, isn't that a fantastic God? I mean, powerful, all, everything. Is it not true that God is all of that? Now, let me ask you this. Is it not true that God is love, pure love? Well, sure, of course, God is all of that. Now, let me ask you something. Don't most of you say that greater is that spirit of love that lives in you than the spirit of the world? Don't most of you say that? I mean, don't Christians say that? When you go to these churches, don't you say that? Don't you believe that with all your heart? Now I want you to think about this. Think about the number of you who sings the song every day, not just on Sundays, but every day. Think about it. And your allegiance to this God. Think about it. Now, as you think about that, I want you to focus on the society in which you live. Think about the sicknesses, those things that are despicable even to you, things that you cannot believe continue to exist. Think about that for just a few seconds. Why do these things exist? There's a system, all of you would agree. And in the system, this is what comes, this is the it. And all of you would agree. But what is your question? Why is it the it to you who know of this great, fantastic God? but without going all of that, I'm going to tell you this. The God, my friends, that you serve, the one that through the Bible, is a fake God. And let me tell you what I mean. You yourselves are serious. You're not playing games. You are as honest with God as you can possibly be. That is no question. That is not the question here. Nobody's trying to say that you are just fake. No, if I say you're fake, I'm talking about the results, but I'm not talking about you. You are dedicated. I hear you all the time. I know what you're feeling. The problem is that what you've been taught. What you've been taught. And you have been taught by those who have kept you slaves. Every book, every study of any Bible or approval of any Bible in this country is going to line up with this country and what this country is about. It is going to line up with it, otherwise it's not going to exist except underground. And every last one of you exists on top of the ground. So what you're doing don't cause no problem. And that's why the pain and suffering continues to exist. When the truth of the matter is that the true God did not design that to happen. That happens through abuse. That happens through deception and the power that you have given it because you have acted like you have no sense. But you do that because it's been designed by the power in which you live to be just what you are, to allow what exists to exist. It was designed to be just that. And so I can stand before the church and say the church didn't see that. The church didn't recognize their duty to be the gardener. The church did not recognize itself as being the one that go out there and show the world the way of peace, to show the world of prosperity, to show the world the way of life. And when things come around where people are being exploited, to expose that exploitation and take that situation that is designed to really serve some good purpose and show how that is supposed to be done in a righteous kind of fashion. The church, the true church, the one that's being led by the Spirit of God, don't need a book. They don't need to study their entire lives going to church on a Sunday and listening to the same biblical stories over, sounding like you being taught to a toddler. When do you grow up? When do you stand up? When do you become what you say you're all about? Well, that's why I stand before you and talk about the church, one of the greatest institutions of evil you can ever imagine. Fake as it can really be when it comes down to talking about the true God. They know nothing about God. And if your experience, if your standing before the people talking about God has nothing to do with your relationship with God, what God has done to you to make you know that God is real and ain't nothing on the face of the earth can make you change your mind on that and you trust God to the maximum, that you give yourself to God and you stand up and speak for God and then show the people the things that have been messed up and show them the way of life. Stand up and be a man of God. If you can't do that, you know, and you need a book. So you say, my Bible says, okay, I'm not going to say don't do that. I mean, that might serve some good purpose, but I want you to know the bigger purpose of what it serves. It makes people blind. It blinds them. They can't do a thing. Look at, well, I don't want to go there yet. I'm going to go there. But I don't want to go there yet. You know, and what I really want to say to you at this point in time, I've said it before and I want to say it again, that there's one system of government. There's one God. It's an invisible God that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't feel, you can't conjure it up in your imagination, but all of God is evidence right before your eyes. That's a potion that you can be identified, that you can identify. God, one God. And there's one power over you, and that is that God. That God is the one that is superior. That's the one you turn to. That's the one that guides you. That's the spirit that guide, like the sun shining on me right now. That is the spirit that leads you in the way of righteousness. God. That's the way it was designed. And you were designed to live here as though you were in heaven. Now, we know the deception. We were designed to have our gifts. Each of us got a gift that makes us fantastic at what we do. Each of us. But we're no more fantastic than anybody else. All of us are fantastic. We are fantastic. And everybody's appreciated. We need one another because we couldn't make it without you. And so we do everything to make sure that nothing happens to you, any of you. And together we go out and we take from the resources that God has provided on the earth, above the earth, in the earth. Most of it's seen, many of it is not seen. And we take it and create the goods and services that are essential for our survival, that we might live like children of the King. I like to say these things to you, ladies and gentlemen, because they make me feel so good. And I want you to know that the systems of government that have been designed, like democratic capitalism, or socialism, dictatorships, communism, all of these other systems of government are all designed for one purpose, and that's to defeat God's purpose. See, God's will is for all human beings to experience life as though they're in heaven. The systems of the government are designed to take that away, rob you of most of that so they can enjoy it, and you can suffer. They don't care. And I can prove it. Look, in the early 90s, maybe late 80s, every presidential season there would be a gentleman that would come and run for office, and what he would advocate are the blessings that you talk about in the Bible. It would talk about those principles that we could employ and live as though we are on earth and heaven. And every presidential season, totally ignored, no support. Now, what has happened is this. We know people try to be slick, try to outsmart God, but you can't outsmart God. Let me show you how this works. White people, for instance, they got this love for God. They got the special desire, the special request. They want peace, they want prosperity, they want all of this, and they expecting God to give it to them. God knows that, but they do not know love, so do they deserve it? I don't know. Do they? Here's what, you let them ask the question. You let them answer the question. So what God does, he sends the answer to their blessings through that which they don't like. They don't like black people. God blessed black people to take a blessing to the white people. But the white people don't like black people, so they turn it and resist and don't accept the blessing. They missed the blessing because they couldn't show compassion for, couldn't show compassion for the black people. Now, I'll tell you what happened. They waited for their savior. They waited for their savior, the one that they can go in the corner and cry for, the one that they would stand up for even if he shot somebody on the side of the street. He was the one that they would support. Even if he was trying to take the babies at the border, didn't want people who were looking for mercy, looking for help to come anywhere close to him. Didn't even want to shake their hands, think that any black person should be beat down and treated inhuman, and all people of color should go back anywhere. Just had totally resist them, laughed at people with disabilities, talked to, man, I mean, whatever you could think of. That's what they wanted. And he finally came along in Donald Trump. Now, some of the first things that Donald Trump had them doing is to start lying for him, had them covering up his lies. That's the world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. But this message is to tell you, all of you, to tell all of you, forget anything that makes you a prisoner. Forget anything that makes you a prisoner, any message that makes you feel like you gotta be bound in. Give it up. You are to be free. Freedom is a gift that every human being was given by coming on this earth. Prosperity is a gift that's given to every human being that's coming on this earth. That's a gift from God. That's an inalienable right. You should never worry about food, clothing, shelter, education, or health care. The greatest that God could give has been given here, and it should be used, even though it's not. But it should, and if it were, it would be as though we're living in heaven. Man, I just want America to know that what you're going to get from Trump if he wins is going to be hell-bent and hell-bound you going. If you go for the Democrats and Joe Biden, you're going to be hell-bent, and there you're going anyway as well, but you won't go as fast. You get a chance to catch your breath. Catch your breath. It won't be a long breath. It won't be a deep breath, but you'll get a chance to catch your breath. And having caught that breath, you can listen. Listen to the voice. Listen to the voice of that you haven't seen before. Listen to the voice of God. Open up your heart. Open up your mind, wanting to know what's right. And you'll find out that it's easy and simple to find out what's right. It's not really that difficult. When you stop thinking about trying to be the best and how you can over-exploit somebody else who exploits you, and when you expect that, when you're thinking about only your own self-survival, when you've been thinking stuff like that, how can you think straight? You can't think straight like that. To think straight, you got to go beyond that. You got to look at every situation as an opportunity for you to be a God. Look at pain and suffering as an opportunity for you to be special, to stand up against it. No, it's not going to exist. No. Lying and cheating, we're not going to continue to put up with that crap. Stealing and killing, we're not going to continue to let that stuff run around in America. Terror and war, racism and hatred, no, we're going to leave that alone. Hatred, envy, and evil, we got to get rid of that stuff. Why? And how we going to do it? We're going to love. What we going to do? How we going to do it? We're going to make sure that those things that every last one of us desire, that has been provided for, we have the opportunity to have it. And we're going to do it with joy. And it's going to be available for everybody. You don't want it, you don't have to take it. But you don't have to worry about nobody taking it from you. No, my friends, this is God. This is the God I want you to know about. I don't want you to know about some God that I just giving this person a job and leaving this person without a job. I don't want you to know about some God to help somebody over here get a house but won't help you get a house. I don't want you to know about some God over here that's a Republican over here and a Democrat over there and each one of them stand against themselves. I don't want you to know no crap like that. I want you to know one that brings them all together and say, I love you, I love you, I love you, and I'm going to show you how much I love you. I can't get enough of you, and you ain't going to be able to get enough of me. This is what I want you to know. I want you to know, God, how can this here happen? How can this happen when the power, and when you know it, the power is in your hands. It's in your hands. You just got to know it. And once you know it, it's easy to, it just come out. Just like the sun that comes out every day when the weather is like this, man. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to leave it there. It's been a pleasure. It's been a wonderful pleasure. Once again, this is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people.